My dear, when the world is wrapped in silence and the moon hangs heavy in the sky, when the hour is so still it could break with a whisper, that, my love, is when the Lord leans in closest. Yes, 3 a.m. That's the hour when the veil is thin, when angels are on assignment, when the heavens hush to hear the trembling cry of a sincere heart. Don't fear that hour. Don't roll over and dismiss it. That stirring in your soul, that sudden awakening, it is not your body being restless. It is your spirit being summoned. Get up. Stand on holy ground, even if it's your bedroom floor. You don't need a cathedral. You don't need a preacher. You don't need a chair behind you. All you need is truth in your tongue and reverence in your heart. At 3 a.m., child, you pray not with elegance, but with honesty. There is a time in the night when all things grow still. The birds have tucked in their final song. The wind hushes its breath. The world becomes a lullaby of shadows, and silence stretches across the sky like a velvet curtain. That time is 3 a.m. Some call it the witching hour. Others say it is the hour of deep sleep, of dreaming. But I have come to know it differently. I have come to call it the hour of the soul, a divine moment carved in the fabric of time where God brushes near. You don't stumble into 3 a.m. You are summoned. The body may think it was the noise in the hallway or the shifting of dreams. But the spirit knows. The spirit knows it has been called to rise while the rest of the world slumbers. And in that moment you are not just awake. You are alive in a way the sun has never taught you to be. Because there, in the cocoon of quiet, God draws near. Not in thunder, not in spectacle, but in stillness. It is a holy whisper that finds you. Oh, child, you may not have planned to be up, but heaven did. And it is no accident when you find yourself staring at the ceiling, your heart heavy with what you cannot name. That H, that flutter of your knees, that tear that comes before thought. It is the Lord inviting you to speak. At 3 a.m., the distractions fall away. There is no television humming, no traffic buzzing, no friend on the other end of the line to offer you answers. You are left with you, raw, honest, trembling, and you are left with him, steadfast, patient, waiting. Now, some might say, why would God wake me now? Why not when the sun is out and I am rested? But you must understand it. God does not always move in comfort. He moves in clarity. And sometimes clarity comes best in the quiet. It is at 3 a.m. that your masks fall. The ones you wore at work, at church, around your children. They slide away in the dark. You are not performing here. You are not pretending. At 3 a.m. you are only what you are: tired, confused, hopeful, hurting, grateful, angry, in love, undone, whole. And that, beloved, is the truth God desires most. Not your rehearsed lines, not your Sunday best, but the nakedness of your soul. I have learned that there are conversations with God that can only be had in the dark. There are tears that must fall when no one else is watching. There are burdens too sacred for daylight. So when you wake at that hour, don't rush back to sleep. Don't scroll on your phone to pass the time. Don't mutter "not now," and turn your face from the invitation. Rise. Stand barefoot if you must. Sit in silence if you must. But come into the presence that has been waiting for you. Come into the moment that was written for your deliverance, your healing, your clarity. Sometimes the Lord wakes you not to talk, but to listen. And other times he wakes you because he knows you've been carrying a pain too long in silence. He knows you've got a praise that's been simmering under your breath. He knows you've got questions you're too afraid to ask at noon. So he calls you at 3 a.m. when no one else can hear your cry but him. It is no coincidence that miracles are often born in the dark, that seeds grow in soil and not in the sun, that Jesus himself rose before the dawn. There is power in the hours before morning, when the earth is still and heaven is alert. You see, the 3 a.m. hour is not an interruption. It is an invitation to come closer, an invitation to let go, an invitation to kneel or pace the room or cry or just breathe. At 3 a.m., time slows, and your soul remembers something your mind forgot, that you are never truly alone. Even in the shadows, God is light. Even in your doubts, God is faithful. Even in your silence, God is speaking. I tell you now, do not fear this hour. Do not dismiss its call. When the world sleeps but your spirit wakes, know this: it is sacred. So wake up, my darling. Wake up when your name is whispered in the dark. Pray when the clock mocks your awareness. Lift your heart when your body wants rest. Because heaven is listening. Because grace is moving. Because love is near. And there, in the middle of the night, you may just find that the answers you've been waiting for at sunrise have been waiting for you since 3 a.m. There are some who believe that when they come to pray, they must bring a script, that they must arrive with polished words and practiced rhythm, that their knees must be properly bent and their voices solemn, as if God were judging a performance rather than receiving a confession. But I have lived long enough, child, to tell you this simple truth: God is not impressed by performance. He is moved by truth, the heart that trembles, the voice that quivers, the eyes that weep without shame. There is no velvet rope around the throne of grace, no secret code, no poetic phrasing. You don't need a preacher's vocabulary or a theologian's intellect. You need only a willing spirit, a heart that says, "Here I am, Lord. I don't have the words, but I have the need." Let me say it plain: your brokenness is not a barrier to God. It is a bridge. It is the language of heaven. God understands desperation better than diction. He is not waiting for your grammar to be right. He is waiting for your soul to be real. You see, there is something sacred about an unpolished prayer, that prayer that comes in a whisper on a hospital floor, that prayer muttered in the corner of a job you hate, when your soul is aching for a change, but your bills still sit like stone. That prayer, child, the one where you can't even find the words, so you sigh, the one where you sit in silence and let the tears be your offering. That prayer is beautiful. That prayer is holy. For God hears not just the words. He hears the space between the words. He hears the pain behind the praise. He hears the longing buried deep beneath your amen. Oh, don't let the world fool you. This world, it teaches you to wear masks, to smile when your heart is breaking, to recite blessings when your soul is parched. But when you enter into prayer, beloved, remove the mask. Lay it down like your coat at the door. Prayer is the one place you are meant to be naked and unashamed. Now, you may feel you're not worthy, that your sins are too many, that your past is too dirty, that your doubt is too loud. But don't you know, God is not scandalized by your truth. He is not startled by your pain. He is not disgusted by your flaws. No, He is the God who formed you in secret, who wove purpose into your very bones. He already knows your weaknesses, and still He longs for your company. Prayer is not about pretending. It is about presenting your whole self, your weary soul, your jumbled thoughts, your fears that rattle in the dark. Do not think you must wait until you are whole to speak. Speak now while you are broken. Speak now while you are lost. Speak now while you are uncertain. Because prayer, my dear, is not for the perfect. It is for the seeking, for the hungry, for the ones with dirt under their nails and questions on their tongues. Prayer is not a polished hymn. It is a raw, aching cry in the wilderness. If all you can say is, "Help me," then say it. If all you can do is groan, then let your spirit groan. God understands what man cannot, and He honors what man overlooks. When the old saints used to moan in the back of the church, rocking gently, eyes closed, saying nothing that could be quoted, do you think their prayers were lesser? No, child. Their prayers were laced with power, because they came from the deep well of experience, of struggle, of joy wrapped in sorrow. They knew what we are still learning, that God listens beyond the surface. I've prayed with words, and I've prayed without them. I've screamed at the sky, and I've whispered into my pillow. I've sat in silence while my heart spoke in ways my mouth could not. And every single time, he met me, right there in my mess, right there in my honesty, right there in my imperfection. So, if you think your words aren't pretty enough, remember this God doesn't require poetry. He desires truth. And your truth, no matter how jagged, is a gift to him. You are not praying to impress. You are praying to connect. You are reaching up with trembling hands, and he, yes, he, reaches back with grace. Let your prayers be messy if they must. Let them be full of doubt. Let them be loud, or let them be soft. Just let them be real. Do not compare your prayer to anyone else's. Do not judge its worth by how loud it sounds, or how many scriptures it includes. God doesn't tally your eloquence. He treasures your sincerity. Speak to him as you are. Speak as a child speaks to a father she trusts, with hope, with honesty, with boldness. And if you feel unworthy, remember it is not your righteousness that opens the door. It is his love. So come. Come with your stuttering voice. Come with your run-on sentences. Come with your trembling heart. Come as you are. For the God who made the stars and painted the ocean and carved the mountains, he waits not for your perfection, but for your presence. And when you show up, just as you are, he smiles. He listens. He answers. Every single time. There is something unspeakably holy about the hour when the rest of the world sleeps. 3 o'clock in the morning. That hour when the streetlights still blink their weary eyes and the birds have not yet found their song. That hour when babies rest in warm cradles and the noise of the day has bowed down to silence. It is not a loud hour, but it is not empty either. It is full, overflowing with mystery, with meaning, with the quiet voice of God whispering to those who will dare to listen. You see, not everyone is awake at 3 a.m., and maybe that's the beauty of it. The distractions have gone to bed. The expectations are still tucked under covers. The world stage has dimmed its lights. At 3 a.m. you are not a role, not a mother, a wife, an employee, a leader. You are a soul, naked before the divine. No makeup, no titles, no masks. It is a sacred hour because it strips you bare gently. The performance of life pauses, and all that is left is you and God. I have seen this hour from both sides. I have seen it tear-stained cheeks and heart-pounding prayers. I have also seen it as a moment of overwhelming peace, when my soul remembered it was never alone. At 3 a.m., the veil is thinner, the spiritual is closer. Heaven presses its forehead gently against earth, and those who are awake, awake in spirit, can feel it. It is not just coincidence that the Lord would call people during this time. It is not random that the Spirit stirs your heart and your body refuses sleep. He is not disturbing your rest to punish you. He is inviting you to commune, to listen, to heal. In the hush of that holy hour, your soul begins to speak with clarity. The questions that were clouded in the chaos of daylight become clear. The worries that screamed in the sunlight become whispers, manageable, surrendered. The stillness of 3 a.m. is not empty. No, it is pregnant with presence. The presence of the Almighty. The presence of angels standing guard over your dwelling. The presence of peace that passes all understanding. Some call it the witching hour. But I call it the watching hour, because it is when the Lord watches closest. He walks the hallways of homes. He sits on bedsides. He leans in to hear the prayers too broken to be said in daylight. In that hour, there are no filters, no applause, no distractions. It is the purest place to meet God, not because he isn't there at noon or midnight, but because you, child, you are finally quiet enough to hear him. This world is filled with noise. We are bombarded by sound and expectation, drowning in demands, running after deadlines that steal our peace. But 3 a.m. is different. 3 a.m. does not demand. It invites. It invites you to pause, to breathe, to listen not just with your ears, but with your spirit. Have you ever noticed how loud your soul becomes when the world is silent? How your spirit seems to rise up and speak truths you had long buried beneath your schedule. At 3 a.m., things are unearthed. Memories, regrets, hopes, fears. They come not to haunt you, but to be healed. They come because God is ready to touch the places you've hidden. There is a cleansing that takes place in the quiet. A kind of spiritual rain that falls in those early hours. It washes away the residue of yesterday and prepares the soil of your heart for what's coming next. Some of my most powerful moments with God came when I had no plans to meet Him. When I tossed and turned, thinking it was just insomnia. But it was an invitation, an appointment set by the divine, and when I stopped resisting the hour, when I rose from bed and met Him in the stillness, my life began to change. You see, prayer at 3 a.m. doesn't always come easy. Sometimes your eyelids are heavy. Sometimes your mind is foggy. But the heavens are watching. And God, yes, God, is waiting. Not with judgment, but with joy. Not with a list of your mistakes, but with open arms ready to receive you again. He does not grow weary of your prayers. He does not tire of your voice, even when it's trembling. He welcomes your doubts and questions, because He knows that at 3 a.m. your heart is telling the truth. In the stillness, you find what you've been searching for all days. Peace, not the kind that comes from external validation, not the kind you purchase or post online, but the kind that seeps into your bones and tells you, you are known, you are loved, you are held. Some mornings your 3 a.m. prayer will be a shout. Other mornings it will be a whisper. Sometimes you'll say nothing at all and simply sit in the divine silence, letting your soul rest in the arms of God. Do not despise the hour. Do not curse the restlessness. Because sometimes, when the body won't sleep, it's because the spirit needs to speak. And 3 a.m., that is when heaven listens most intently. So rise. Not with fear, but with faith. Not with worry, but with wonder. Know that this hour has been touched by God Himself, set aside for communion, reserved for restoration. It is not wasted, it is worship. And when you return to bed, when you lay your head once more upon your pillow, you will not be the same, because you touched something eternal, and it touched you back. When you come to God in the early hours, when your knees press into the quiet earth of your room, and the stars still glimmer above the sleeping world, don't come rehearsed. Don't come dressed up in fine spiritual phrases. Come real. Come as you are. For the divine is not fooled by fancy speech. The Lord is not moved by how poetic your prayer sounds.
He listens, yes.
But He listens not to the language of your mouth, but the honesty of your soul. Speak from there. Speak from that aching, yearning, trembling center that hides behind your smile and beneath your schedule. At 3 a.m. there is no pretense, only truth, and in truth God finds delight. When you speak to God from the depths of your soul, you don't have to ask for permission. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to clean yourself up before you enter His presence. No, child, He wants you just as you are. Tattered, tired, tear-streaked, and trying. You see, God is not some far-off king sitting on a throne of stone. He is near. He is a father, a mother, a friend, a comforter, a well that never runs dry. And when you come to Him, not with fancy phrases, but with the broken poetry of your soul, He leans in, He listens, and He answers in the language of love. There's something sacred about a soul that dares to be honest before God. It's one thing to talk about your day. It's another to talk about your despair. It's one thing to list your needs. It's another to lay bare your wounds. To say, Lord, I'm angry. I'm scared. I'm tired of pretending. I need you. Now that is the beginning of holy dialogue. There is no shame in your sadness. There is no punishment in your pain. God does not recoil from the parts of you that feel unlovable. He moves closer. He cups your face in divine hands. And He says, even this, even now, you are mine. A speaking to God from the depths of your soul means not just asking for things, but opening yourself like a flower in bloom. It means letting Him see the parts you've hidden, even from yourself. The disappointments you never voiced. The fears you've swallowed. The guilt that lingers like smoke after a fire. Lay it all at His feet. If you can't find the words, sigh. If you can't articulate it, weep. If your voice trembles, let it. Your soul speaks in many tongues, and God understands every one. There is healing in confession, not just of sins, but of sorrow. There is deliverance in declaring, Lord, I don't know what I'm doing, but I know I can't do it without you. Oh, how the heavens rejoice not when we appear strong, but when we come broken and still trusting. When we say, I hurt, but I believe. I've failed, but I'm here. I feel alone, but I know you're near. That is strength wrapped in surrender. That is the language of the soul. Some folks think you need to shout to be heard. But oh, beloved, God hears the whisper of your spirit louder than 1,000 sermons. He hears the silent help me, lodged behind your throat. He hears the pain that never made it past your eyes. He hears, He knows, and He answers. Sometimes God answers with peace. Sometimes He answers with perspective. Sometimes He simply holds you until you can breathe again. Don't be afraid to be real in His presence. He can handle your confusion. He can hold your heart ache. He can handle the dark nights of your soul. Because He is the light that no shadow can swallow. And He is not offended by your honesty. He is drawn to it. You don't need to pray perfect prayers. You need to pray true ones. True prayer is not performance. It's presence. It's you sitting before the one who shaped your soul, saying, Here I am, Lord, just as I am, and that is enough. I've cried out to God in hotel rooms and hospital rooms. I've cried out when I felt seen, unheard, undone. And every single time He met me, not always with an immediate fix, but always with a faithful love. He listens deeply. He listens completely. And He answers in ways we often don't expect. Sometimes He changes the situation. Sometimes He changes us. But in every word you offer, every moan and mumble and murmur from your weary soul, God hears the music of your spirit. He tunes in like a mother to her child's cry, like a friend who already knows the story, but wants to hear it again, because it matters. When you speak from the depths, you invite God into the sacred places. And God never comes empty-handed. He comes with grace in His hands. He comes with healing in His touch. He comes with strength for your bones and stillness for your storms. Don't be afraid to tell Him what you really feel. Don't water down your longing or your grief. He wants it all. The raw, the ragged, the real. Because prayer is not about impressing God. It's about inviting Him into your midnight, into your mess, into the marrow of who you are. And when you speak from that place, from that aching place inside of you, you will feel the shift, not always around you, but within you. Because once you've truly spoken with God, once you've bared your soul before His throne, you cannot walk away unchanged. So speak, child. Speak from your tired places. Speak from your hopeful places. Speak from the bottom of your soul, even if it's trembling, even if it's quiet. For it is not the volume of your voice that moves heaven. It is the truth of your heart. And when that truth meets God's love, oh, my miracles begin to unfold. There is a time for talking, yes, for pouring out your heart to the heavens with the fire of your faith and the ache of your burdens. But oh, beloved, there is also a sacred time for listening, a time for stillness, a time when your soul leans in, quiet and open, and waits for the whisper of the Almighty. For God does not always thunder through the sky. He is not always in the earthquake. He is not always in the whirlwind. No, sometimes He speaks in a still small voice, a whisper so tender it brushes across your spirit like the wing of an angel, and you must be still to catch it. And in this stillness there is power, Now, you might think silence is empty, that it means God is far away. But, my dear, silence is often where God does his deepest work. Silence is not absence. It is intimacy. It is the hush before revelation. It is the breath before the miracle. You see, in the stillness we are stripped of distraction. There are no crowds, no clamor, no applause. Just you, your breath, and your Creator. Just your soul stretched open beneath the weight of quiet, waiting to be filled. Oh, yes, there is a holy hush in the early morning hours. A divine pause where the world has not yet spoken its demands, and your heart can still remember how to hope. That is the hour when God leans close. That is the hour when the Spirit speaks. But you must be willing to listen. To hear God's whisper, you must silence the other voices. The voice of fear that tells you you're not enough. The voice of regret that chains you to yesterday. The voice of anxiety that rushes ahead of tomorrow. You must let them fall quiet, like snowflakes drifting to the earth, until only the voice of God remains. And when he speaks, O child, it is not with shouting. He does not need to scream to be heard. He speaks in knowing. He speaks in peace. He speaks in that gentle nudge that says, "This is the way. Walk in it." It may come as a scripture brought to mind, a memory that brings comfort, a feeling of warmth in your chest that says, "You are not alone." The whisper of God is not loud, but it is mighty. It will settle your storm. It will clarify your confusion. It will confirm what your heart dared to believe. But it comes in stillness. And oh, how rare stillness has become. We live in a noisy world. A world where silence is often mistaken for emptiness, where waiting feels like wasting. But in the kingdom of God, waiting is worship, stillness is strength, and silence is not punishment, it is preparation. Sometimes God quiets everything around you because he wants to speak to what's within you. Now I've lived long enough to know that not every silence is peaceful. There's a silence that torments and a silence that heals. And the difference, my dear, is in who you're listening to. When the silence feels heavy, lean into it. Don't run. Don't fill it with noise. Just ask, "Lord, what are you saying to me here?" And then wait. Not with impatience, but with expectancy. Like a mother waiting to hear her baby's first cry. Like a farmer watching the horizon for rain, wait like someone who believes that God still speaks, because he does. He speaks in dreams, in scripture, in nature, in the quiet of your soul. And when he whispers, it changes everything. I remember the nights when I sat with my questions, my heart beating loud in the stillness. Nights when I didn't need a sermon or a song. I needed to know that God had not forgotten me. And in those moments I felt it the soft weight of his presence. A warmth, a knowing, a sacred hush that wrapped itself around me like a shawl. He didn't always answer the way I wanted. But he answered. He said, "Be still and know that I am God." That knowing is deeper than words. It is a truth that rises in your bones, a certainty that anchors you when everything else is shifting. It is the whisper of the eternal saying, "You are mine. I see you. I've got you." But you won't hear it in the rush. You won't hear it in the noise. You must come away. Come into the quiet. Come into the stillness. Come and sit with the one who formed you. This is not a task. It is a gift. This is not a discipline. It is a delight. For in the stillness, you are reminded of who you are. Not what the world says, not what your past screams, but what your Creator declares. You are loved, you are held, you are seen, you are called. That whisper will remind you that you are not your fear. You are not your failures. You are not your lack. You are a daughter. You are a son. You are a vessel of divine purpose, waiting to be filled again and again. So make space for the whisper. Rise early. Sit in the silence. Put down your phone. Lay aside your agenda. And just listen. Listen to the trees rustle with praise. Listen to your own heartbeat. A miracle in itself. Listen for the still, small voice that speaks louder than thunder when your soul is quiet enough to hear. And when you hear it, don't rush away. Linger. Let the whisper settle in your spirit. Let it echo in your bones. Let it shape your day, your choices, your becoming. Because God's whisper is not just a sound, it is a direction, a comfort, a call. And once you've heard it, once you've known what it is to be still and know, you'll return to the quiet again and again, not out of obligation, but because your soul has found its home. So sit, beloved, sit in the sacred hush. Let the world wait for a moment. You have an appointment with the divine, and he has something to say.